Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back as always to another edition of Deadlock Weekly, the show where I bring you all the latest news, leaks, esports roundups, and more every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. If you want to stay in the loop, be sure to subscribe. First thing for you members, we got a homie game night coming up. We're all going to squad up, maybe play for sure play some Deadlock, I think, but we can play whatever you guys want. I put a poll in the description for you guys, so just let me know when you guys are available, and we will get right to it. Then guys, our big story this week is this, I'll call it a roadmap leak. It's kind of, laying out the next plans for Deadlock or what the next plans may be. Just some really concrete features that are in development. And the first one I don't think is really surprising to anybody, but that it's going to have separate game modes. Currently, there are 3 that are planned. And we'll read through this as we kind of go down and break everything down. But this is the first time that we've heard the term 3 be thrown around, and I think I've got a pretty good idea on what those 3 separate modes would be. Obviously, number 1, 3 lanes, just mainline Deadlock as we know it today. Then, maybe that escort mode that Gabe Follower had been talking about and just other people had been finding various lines of code suggesting that they may be in development. It'd be interesting if maybe that's the second game mode, and then maybe, just maybe, this one's completely guesswork, but maybe 4 lanes comes back. I think a lot of people, I know plenty of people in my comment section have been talking about how cool it would be to get 4 lanes back in one way or another once the game is kind of in a more finished state and they're happy with the 3-lane mainline Deadlock. It would be really cool to get a 4 lanes map back that you could just play for fun with your buddies or something. Or, obviously then just matchmake in, like a casual playlist or something like that. I think that's really cool, and I hope that they do find a way to work 4 lanes back in somehow. And so hopefully that'll be the third game mode. Then a class system will be added. It won't affect the play style of heroes, but it will serve as a guide to newcomers to better understand the game. And I couldn't find it anywhere, guys. Maybe someone in the comments will be able to find it, and maybe I just dreamt it, but I swear to God, earlier this week I saw it in multiple places, like a data mine class list for Deadlock, and it had 3 classifications. Maybe there were 4, but the 3 that I remember were Assassin, Brawler, and Mystic. And it only makes sense to me at some point that they're going to add some sort of classification to the game, even if it isn't Assassin, Brawler, Mystic, just because, I don't know, that totally makes sense. It makes sense to just give that guidance to new players. Then after the upcoming quote-unquote split update, a draft system will be introduced, and hero classes might roll out earlier in a test phase. And it seems likely to me that we're still a solid chunk of time away from Deadlock releasing, you being able to just hit play on the Steam store. And so it's going to be a minute before we have a lot of those kind of finished game features we're used to in today's live service titles. And I do hope that if that is the case, we're still a ways away from really having the full Deadlock experience. I do hope that they do invest a little bit more into the quality of life for the people who are testing this game day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year now at this point. And so I do hope that a draft feature, and I'm looking at you matchmaking, they get resolved and / added in the future. Then at least 8 more heroes are planned for release, with 4 of them already close to completion. And this doesn't surprise me at all that more heroes are in development and that 4 are close to completion. Valve said at the start of the year that one of their main goals this year was to expand the hero roster. And remember too that Calico, Holiday, Magician, and Viper, they actually did come out earlier this year as well. So they've added 10 new heroes, and we already know that Venator, that's my guess, I've seen it around a lot of places, not my guess, I've seen a lot of people say that. Venator, formerly known as Priest, is likely close to completion, and I'm sure between Boho and some others, you could probably count them as quote-unquote close to completion, right? But frankly, given how good we're eating at the current state of the game, I know better than to get up and go reaching for another plate now. They're obviously still working on new heroes, but I really wouldn't expect them for the next couple of months, no matter how quote-unquote close to completion they were, because if they were something that they felt confident in putting in the game soon, they would have put it in the most recent update. Then an achievement system, a news hub, NPCs, and new rooms are planned for the 2 major updates. And so Hideout, yeah, I mean, it's clearly a template with just all the closed doors and decorative areas that are clearly just placeholders or a place where they could add another room, something to expand the Hideout on. So it's really cool to see that we're going to get some of that. When I found out first about the Hideout, I'm not sure if you guys played Deep Rock Galactic, I haven't in years, but I loved that little hangout area that they had before you could go down to the mission where you could play mini games or drink at the bar or something like that. It was it's very cute, very fun, and I think it fits perfectly in Deadlock. Maybe not drinking beers, but you know what I mean. Mini games and stuff. And then additionally, around October, Valve is expected to take a short break, and that lines right up with the Hawaii vacation earlier this year. I think that was back in April or something, and that feels a little bit parasocial or whatever. But we are talking about the games news, and so I'm no game developer, developer, but I have to imagine that it's harder for them to go on vacation around the holidays than it is for all of us, given that's when people are playing the most video games with all the extra free time. Someone's got to be around to fix game-breaking bugs and stuff like that. And so, I don't know. It is just me guessing, but like to me, it makes sense that they would do their kind of what we see as our holiday vacation at, in October earlier in the year. And just real quick to talk about this source, I for a long time discounted Project 8, this account, because for a long time, and this months ago, they posted pretty much anything that crossed their desk, whether it was legitimate or not. And in the past few months, that has not been the case, and they've been a proper source, leaking a lot of things directly, and they even predicted the hero patch date. And so at this point, I think it's a source that's worth discussing, and I think honestly, I'd be doing you a disservice to not mention big things like this when I see them. Because, yeah, we were talking about the news here, and they've been first to a lot of news recently. Then, guys, we did get the big sweeping balance patch that we talked about might be coming last week, and we saw that they were given tweaks to the new heroes last week and the week before, so it only makes sense the whole roster in the shop is under the gun this week now that we've gotten those out of the way. And before we dig into the nitty-gritty, the patron changes, specifically the standardization of the times between Stage 1 and Stage 2, just so fantastic. I really don't think there should be any unpredictability built into a game like this, a competitive game. I think that should come from the choices that the players that are playing the game make and their agency, so I'm happy that they've changed this. Then outside of that, I mean, there's a ton of value tweaks. They gave Calico a massive buff, and I felt it, but the stronger heroes like Vindicta and Holiday, they all caught nerfs alongside a great set of Mina buffs. I've been obsessed back on Calico again now that she's back, so Mina mains, is this enough to help her out and get her to be, how do I say this nicely, but not so ineffective? And in general, how do you guys feel about the balance? I generally feel like they've corrected the OP heroes and put the game in a really strong place balance-wise for Valve to be able to put their heads down and work on whatever the next major update's going to be. Then, guys, player counts are holding. We had a small drop, but peaking back up at 55,000, especially when football started this week again in the USA, I think is just fantastic. I was honestly expecting a bigger drop, and it does feel like matchmaking is slowly starting to standardize. It still feels bad, but noticeably better than last week. Then speaking of the players, Valve did give us a little bit of our voting statistics, and they said that nearly 6 million votes were cast in total by the community. 6 million matches of Deadlock got played over those 2 weeks. That's fucking insane, man. The highest number of votes cast by an individual player was 203. I don't have the math on top of my head, but I think someone on like the subreddit was doing like the math on how long that is, and if you like break in like either, I forget if it was like school/sleep, it's like this guy basically spent like 8 hours a day playing Deadlock. Then Billy won with the largest lead at over 30% of the total votes at the time of his release, which is crazy because I honestly thought it was going to be much closer between Billy and Doorman, but it was very close between Doorman and Page, which was the closest contest with only a 0.85 percentage point difference in favor of the Doorman, which is wild how close that was. Then, guys, speaking of heroes, let's dive into win rates weekly, and we're actually looking at just this patch so far, so just the past few days. But it's not surprising to me at all that Hayes is shot back up after this, because Hayes, even back before the patch, and I mean the major patch that introduced all the heroes, she just dominates low-skill players because she's kind of like a gate of like, can you counterplay in Deadlock? Once you buy, your counter items, you stop her from being able to get fed in the middle of the game. She's kind of like a gate to get past there. But things that do surprise me, Ivy being this strong really does. I wonder if this is her gun build. I've had a few oh shit moments of me walking up to an Ivy thinking we're going to fight and then just like my health bar is gone. So maybe that's a little bit more that speed, but yeah, that did surprise me when I saw that. And then Drifter and Victor both returned to Earth, and Victor has been really effectively nerfed. I really haven't seen a strong Victor in like a week now. It's hard for me to have big, massive takeaways on both win rates weekly this week and the patch because they were just such solid changes and the game is in such a solid place. Like they didn't make big rejuve changes like they were right before the balance patch. These are mostly just value tweaks. But one other thing I do want to point out is that we've actually got a real small sample size as we get up into the Phantom Plus. Some of these heroes really only have a few hundred matches over the course of 72 plus hours, so maybe there's some variance that we'll see next week, but I do think there's probably big enough a sample size to get something statistically significant. If I can throw away my film degree and throw a math term at you. Then, guys, let's crack into our tournament roundup. In the EU, Abrahams defeated Buff Enjoyers in a 2-1 final scoreline. I love watching the EU fight nights, or night shifts. And maybe I'm wrong, but it just feels like the first time in a couple of weeks where we've had a match go 3 maps. And the first of those 3 was highlighted by an awesome Great Talent performance of all heroes, and he's certainly seeming back all the way down even in my lobbies. And ABL had his turn on talent on map 2, and Abraham's slammed the door shut on buff enjoyers in map 3, absolutely annihilating them, who were simply a yummy meal for Abraham's on map 3. It does just feel nice in my emissary core to see a pro player go 1-9 as well. Know that happens for them too. And then in North America, it's the same story as the past month. Hydra Nation annihilated little troops again. There really isn't any much to say for NADL at this point. It's really just Hydra Nation and Poshy Pop. Then, guys, we mentioned last week the Death Slam League Europe finals were going on, and Le Watermelon defeated the Boon Enjoyers to win the Death Slam League in Europe. Congratulations to the Watermelons, closing out the summer in a very appropriate fashion to steal Philly B's call. Then, guys, let's talk some Deadlock. You guys fucking roasted me for that share-out clip, and I mean, it was worth it, but just to give some explanation on that, we talked about the pirate clip that I cut last week, and when I cut that at like 4:30, like an hour before the episode went live, and when you do that, I had to move everything on my editing timeline up so that all the little lower thirds that say what we're talking about pop up at the right time, or that Win Rates Weekly doesn't just show up over the comments section. When I was doing all that, I just completely missed the Shroud clip, and yeah, that's why he's just started randomly talking over me at a random point in the video last week. So yeah, left hand up, that one's on me, my bad. Then, guys, to spur some conversation for next week, I want to know, how do you feel about the current state of Deadlock now that we are just confidently on the other side of the biggest update yet? Really, it feels like we're in Deadlock 2.0. How are you feeling on that? Let's talk some Deadlock. Then, guys, I saw a couple of awesome videos this week that I wanted to point out. Chonkla put out a video on the history of the Deadlock art style, which I thought was fantastic. And the Dead Air podcast is back, baby. I am so pumped. I was damn near going to put out just me yapping about Deadlock for an hour so that people had podcasts. We needed this. Or at least, I don't know, I do. I'll be taking a walk tonight in between the football games through my neighborhood. Ooh, feel the fall breeze in the air. Ooh, pulling in some Dead Air podcasts. Ooh, the fall is back, baby. I'm pumped. Summer's great, but as soon as the first Sunday kickoff happens, man, you can kick rocks. Get out of here. It's time for the leaves to start falling, man. Then, guys, there were a couple of things that I got wrong, more so than normal in last week's Deadlock Weekly, so I just wanted to point out a couple of those things. So I was wrong about the level placeholder that I thought was a placeholder for your character level. It shows how many boons you have. Honestly, I do wonder if this is eventually going to show hero level and not a boon level, because this is just such a strange place to put that information. You don't have to press escape to get any other info about the game, like about your current match, except for this. Just such a strange place to put info that you would theoretically want to have. And then also, I just misread the patch notes on Mina. Her Sanguine Retreat was actually buffed, not nerfed last week, like I had said. I read it too fast and completely misinterpreted it. Then, guys, that's all I got for you this time. I want to say thank you so much to all the homies. I mean, your support means so much to me, and we're going to be doing a game night soon, so if you guys want to join up on that, you can become a member, or if you just want to support the channel and don't have any interest in playing video games with me, there seems like there's a lot of you based on how many people trash my gameplay. You can do that too. But thank you so much, guys, for watching. I hope you guys have a fantastic week this week, and I will see you again at some point this week. Peace.